Noisy bunch.
Somebody's waving. Okay.
Ron, what did you think about the Browns?
Ask you.
Oh, you're asking me?
I thought they were going to give it away. Man, I was getting nervous there at the last minute.
Yeah.
That I have to take back all the bad things I said about Beckham. He's a hot dog, but the boy can run.
That's for sure.
Anyway, it was a great game. I got a great running game.
You know, I was amazed by a statistic going into that game was it's the first time in the first half of the first time in they've scored more than two touchdowns in the first half of a quarter or first half of a game since 1991.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a dry season.
Holy smokes.
Hi, Andrew.
Andy.
Right here, man. Well, hey, Cheryl.
Hey, Bonnie, when do you retire?
It'll be August 1st of 2021. So at the end of this school year, essentially.
Oh, okay. I thought you were retiring this year, so.
Nope, finishing out the school year.
Can't quit when you're having so much fun.
That is true.
I can't believe a treasurer doesn't have it down to the days, hours, and minutes.
Well, if I had more time, maybe, but trust me, I've got plenty to do to wrap it up before I can even start thinking that way.
It's only money, you know.
Yep.
You know, you'll be expected to let us know next Monday how many days.
Okay, I'll try to have that done by then. I think I've been gauging it more, not so much by how many days, but more like, okay, so how many board meetings, how many times do I have to do this certain thing again or not have to ever do it again? So I think that's kind of been my guidepost there a little bit.
No, I got one. Thank you.
Courtney, what's up? Hey,
How are you?
Can you see if you
Thank you.
just
Plastic bag.
Yeah.
Sandwich bag.
Hey, Terry, do you know if we've got very many people in the veterans promotion for flags?
You know, I haven't looked recently, Frank. We'll probably need to go out there and see what's happening with the orders. Yeah. I hope so. It was always a good promotion in the past. We usually got a significant number of orders.
Next month, Terry, Gus Biggio's book is coming out about his time in Afghanistan. It's a really good book. I think pretty amazing story.
Have you read it?
I've read the preliminary drafts. Yeah,
Great.
yeah. It'll be out for Veterans Day. So he'll be a good speaker if we can ever get him back in the country. He's in Switzerland right now.
Well, right now, that wouldn't matter, would it, Ron? He could probably do it virtually.
Well, that's a good thought, Lynn. If he can't, he's trying to be back here for book promotion, but if he can't do that, that'd be a good thing to do.
On another subject, in case you're wondering who Mina is my wife, who has a degree in library and information science, and she just makes the hookup for us. So Mina is really Dawn.
Don, I think you can change that name by going up in that little box on the right-hand side, the top box. I think it allows you to change your name or put a new name in there.
Okay, word.
The one you use to unmute, mute.
Am I unmuted, Cheryl? Hey, Zoomers. Can we hear here at the main mic? Anybody give me a thumbs up? All right, we got audible. Thank you. And by the way, folks, we have about 40 in attendance here today. So yeah, about 40, 45. And we'll try to adjust the video today too, up and down, but we're doing what we can. If somebody has any suggestions while we go through to the Zoomers, if you send, make sure to send Lynn a note and she'll get it over to Cheryl so we can make changes. We have a couple of guests today, so you won't hear that, but I'll try to introduce those to you from the podium.
Does Cheryl want me to send it via chat or just her text?
Yeah. Cheryl, if there's any, I'll find out. Yeah, Lynn, if you can be the gatekeeper on that and send Cheryl a text, and then she'll make the changes. Okay, cool. All right, we're ready to roll. Everybody could rise as we get our slides here to the flag, and let's recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So greet everybody from a distance, please. Thank you. We've got Zoomers on here. It's always awkward, by the way, Zoomers. So we've got about, and you can be seated. We're that close, folks, to getting our invocation queued up. Beth Weaver said, "Hey, I'm going to be there today," and she said, "Oops, I'm going to miss it." So I could pray today, but I don't have it written down, so it could be pretty ugly. So we'll just go with the announcements here today. So I know we have a couple of guests here today, and we don't have a roaming mic, so if you could just stand and maybe introduce your guest, that would be phenomenal. Phil, I know you have a guest.
My guest today is my wife, Bernadette.
His wife, Bernadette, is here. His wife. Do we have any other guests today? No guest? I do have one, we have one of our newest members. She has joined via Zoom a couple of times, but in the flesh here today is Connie Higgins. Connie Higgins, our newest member. Yeah, and Connie, maybe you could, I know I didn't give you any cue, but your title or who you're representing as well. Cool. So thank you, Connie. Thank you for being here and being a part of Wooster Rotary. We appreciate it. So for the Zoomers, Connie Higgins is our new director of the Salvation Army right here in Worcester. So I've got some comments to share with you. And Cheryl, how are we doing on the slide here? So we're going to go to the right after the American flag because, all right, all right, here, now hold on here. We're going to cover what we talked about last week, okay? So in unison, folks, okay? Just appease me. Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. We have like one person saying, yeah, right? You all right with that? Yeah? Huh? How about that? The Cleveland Browns, they didn't find a way to give that game up. So that was a really cool Sunday. They tried their best to give it away. So that's kind of fun to see. What else did we hit on? Cheryl, maybe the next slide. Oh boy. Well, that was fun, right? We talked about the playoffs, how they were real well positioned. We have Bieber at the mound, you know, the Cy Young Award winner, gave up the most runs he's given up all year long. And then if you watch the second game, I remember watching it, it was till 1 o'clock in the morning. So unfortunately, yes, the Indians did beat us. I did get a note from ESPN, though, if you saw, and you should Google it, it is the Indians have officially changed their name. Now they're the Cleveland baseball team. So they are following the lead of the Washington football team. So that's a joke. No, that hasn't happened. I just wanted to, got your attention. So that has not happened yet. And then the next slide, oh boy, how about we talked about this, we're all excited about the debate on, what was that, Tuesday night, right? Well, that was ugly. That was the ugliest debate I've personally seen. And then commentators and analysts are saying that's the ugliest ever. From there, Donald Trump left feeling really, really ill, if you've seen that. So he's still not feeling well about the, are you scraping things, Cheryl? Okay. Is that like who you're voting for? But it was very ugly on Tuesday. That's very unfortunate. A couple of serious announcements is that we do have our Meals with a Mission. We talked about that for our district governor. That is a fundraiser that we have each year. We've had it, I believe, 4 or 5 years, and we're going to still hold that this year. Those details are coming together, right, Courtney and newest member Samara, right? Yep, those. Yes, they are. Perfect. So November 2nd, mark your calendars for that Monday. We are going to have that, and details will be pretty rounded out for next week. If you were on Facebook, you should have seen that our flags, we did a giveaway. Joy Schmidt was highlighted in that, and that got a lot of attention. So highlighting our flag program for the district governor as we talk about this. We are just at 2,000 flags. Sometimes we dip low, sometimes we dip right above that. Our goal for this coming year, internally, what our committee has said is we think we can get 25 flags flying in the program throughout Worcester and the immediate surrounding area. So it's one of our core fundraisers, a very important program for us as our visibility in the community as well. Board leadership. So who's enjoying these emails that you're getting, right? Those are cool. Those are coming in on Mondays and trying to come in on Wednesdays as well. Ted Boger is yet to receive one. So I know we're trying to get that one figured out. So hopefully we'll have that. But in the middle of the email, and I'm going to continue to push on this, but board leadership. If you have interest, again, in being on the board, please let us know. Also, if you are a past board member and have been a part of Rotary for at least, I think it's 3 years, Greg or Lynn is on Zoom, she would straighten me out. You also are eligible for the presidency as well. So it would be nice to know if you have interest in any of those positions so that we can make sure that those decisions of our leadership, that people are interested in assuming those positions. The directory, we talked about this. We'll continue to talk about it until we get everything straightened out. There have been actually quite a bit of responses from the directory on please change my email, please change my phone number, drop my home phone number. I don't have that. And then also some headshots that were sent over to us. Continue to make sure that you look at that. That will be emailed out to you for the next couple of weeks. Want to make sure that your information is accurate. And then what I'm going to do is go through and make sure that all of the photos, the headshots that you have submitted, those will be sent out in an email as well. So you'll be able to slide through and get to see everybody's headshot, which is really fun. And that maybe that will prompt some people to update their headshot. We'll see. That's the hope. Our community project, past president and district governor, Phil Mariola, came up here and spoke about our community project for our 100th year. Like East Liverpool, Linda, that we will be celebrating our 100th year really in 20 and 21 as well. And we are talking about doing a significant community project. We've allocated, does anybody remember how much? $35,000 to a community project. So we're trying to identify as to maybe a marquee project or projects. So again, if you have any comments or suggestions on something that we should be doing in the local area or even internationally as well, make sure that you send those to me. You can send your information or ideas to Phil, Greg, or Lynn as well. This weekend, we had one of our Rotarians. I wanted to highlight this. This is Susan Marlar, okay? She was in the Wooster Fest sausage toss. Look at that form, okay? Lots of practice. So how far did you throw the sausage there, Susan? 40 foot, that was pretty good. Yeah, so our own Susan Marlar, we wanted to at least highlight that. She was down at Wooster Fest throwing the sausage around, and it was a lot of fun. So I have to pick on her a little bit there. And we will save some of this for future meetings. Probably next week we'll get into the more details because we want to make sure that Linda has enough time to speak to us today. But what is October? Does everybody know what October is when you talk about Rotary? If we go to the next slide. End polio. So that's obviously a movement that Rotary has been a part of for, we're talking 30 years now, folks. And October is a goal for us to continue to raise funds for that so that it's completely eradicated from the world. They say that 99.9% of that disease is taken as far as it's under control. How many children have we immunized over the years? I looked some of this stuff up. It's pretty cool. 2.5 billion children have been immunized in 122 countries. And Rotary has contributed $1.8 billion towards eradicating the disease worldwide. It's not completely eradicated, and that's a continual focus of Rotary from an international level that we continue to raise funds for that eradication. Also, pretty cool, the Belinda and Bill Gates Foundation, they'll triple any donation that is received in 20 and 21 as well. So I did see that note. So we will be making a donation to that cause through our international funds that we've allocated in our budget, Linda, and that will be something that we'll be doing this year. So those are my announcements, but we want the opportunity to share any announcements that we have either here in person or via Zoom. So does anybody have anything they'd like to share with the club? Yes, Becky.
Yeah, I would like to share that the county did get round 3 funding from COVID, and we are going out for round 3 small business grants. We did give away $300,000 in the first 2 rounds, and we had budgeted $500,000. So we are changing the criteria for round 3. So your business can be up to $2 million. It has to be a for-profit business. It can have 50 employees. Still has to be 35% loss between March 1st.
Zoomers, can you hear that?
19 compared to 20, and it is a $5,000 grant.
Perfect.
So it's out there. We need people to apply. We're willing to help people with this money. If we can't help people in our community, it's going to go back to the state. And we were just given another chunk of money that they're managing the program for us, so,
Excellent.
okay?
Thank you, Commissioner. So for our Zoomers, Becky Foster, Commissioners, got up and spoke about funds available through the county for small businesses. Now it's bigger business because we're getting up to revenues of $2 million and employees up to 50. Is that right? 50. And I know that through the chamber in my past life, we reviewed some of those applications and got a lot of money out, but there's still some available. So if you Zoomers or anybody in the room, if you know of any businesses that could utilize those funds, please have them apply. So, and apply through the Wayne Economic Development Council. Any other questions, comments? No, let's see, we have anything from our Zoomers? No? It says no, okay. So, thank you. Appreciate that. And then I'm gonna have Dee Vadia come up today, and he is going to introduce our speaker.
Linda Henderson is a graduate of Kent State University, Youngstown State University, and received her superintendent's certificate from Salem International University. Linda was a teacher for the East Liverpool School District for 26 years, where she taught English, speech, drama, and reading. For an additional 13 years, Linda served as high school and middle school principal and the government programs coordinator. Linda is involved in her community as a member of St. John Lutheran Church, where she's a member of the church council, the choir, and the worship committee. She has served on the board of trustees of the Chamber of Commerce and on a task force as chair of the activities committee. Currently, she serves in the advisory board to Kent State University's East Liverpool campus, the board of the Triple H Foundation, and the Scholars Committee of East Liverpool City Schools Foundation. She's also a member of the New Century Club and the Monday Literary Club. She volunteers at the East Liverpool Community and Learning Center. Linda joined the East Liverpool Rotary Club in 2005. In her club, she has been the chairperson of the Youth Exchange Committee, the Membership Committee, and the Foundation Committee. She's also a Paul Harris Fellow. She was president of the East Liverpool Club for the year 2014 and 2015, when the club raised $173,000 to refurbish the municipal pool at Thompson Park. For this project, the club was awarded a Rotary International Significant Achievement Award for community service. Her husband, Fred, is also a member and past president of the East Liverpool Club. Linda has 2 grown daughters, 5 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren. Folks, please welcome our District Governor, Linda Henderson.
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to be at the Wooster Club, one of our largest clubs, and certainly one of our most active clubs.
Just gonna make sure they can hear you in the back.
Yeah, well, certainly one of our most active clubs. Before Justin gets too far away, every year at the International Assembly, which is all the district governors from all over the world come together in San Diego. Although this year, if they have it, they're going to end up in Orlando. But they come together at San Diego, and one of the things we do is we exchange gifts, little gifts like keychains and candy and stuff like that. And so I got this huge box that I had to ship back to East Liverpool from San Diego of all these things. And I thought, well, what am I going to do with all this? And I thought, you know what? It's the Rotary way to share things. So, Justin, I'm going to give you a key ring from New Zealand.
Oh, perfect.
And this is to remind you, and I know you have a new job, so now you've got a new office, you've got a key ring for it, but it's to remind you that Rotary is an international organization. It's not just an organization in this area or in Ohio, but it's international.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, I'll tell you, this is a hard place for me to be because I'm an old teacher. I really am an old teacher. And I'm actually used to being out in the group of kids, because if you've ever taught kids, you know that you never stand in one place very long. You make a very good target in that case. So, so it's hard for me to stay in one place. When I first became the district governor, and I guess I should tell because Phil knows this story already, the way I get into actual leadership in the Rotary Club was I was still working at the time. It was my last year. And I was at work minding my own business. I came home from work, and that night my husband Fred said to me, "Oh, by the way, Mary Sue called." Now, Mary Sue was a member of our club, Mary Sue Lang. And I said, "Oh, really? What did Mary Sue want?" He said, "Oh, well, she asked me if I wanted to be president-elect of the Rotary Club, but I told her I didn't want to do it, but you're retiring next year and you do it." And that's literally how I became president of the Rotary Club. Well, in the meantime, our mayor came to us, and you have to understand, as I was telling somebody out here, in my school district, because of my government programs job, I knew that 80% of our kids, depending on the school, but an average of 80% of our kids are on free and reduced lunches, which means they're living very near or below the poverty level. Our kids don't get vacations, but we do have one big municipal pool, which our mayor had kept running for a number of years, basically with his own money and his own blood, sweat, and tears. And so he came to the Rotary Club and he asked for $15,000 to patch up the pool vessel. And I said, you know, I said, that's like putting a Band-Aid on cancer. Can't we just like do the pool vessel? Well, we did the pool vessel, and it cost us, when we got into it, we found out that the only thing actually holding the pool together was paint, because it was a WPA project and all the cement had just deteriorated into sand. So $173,000 later, our kids have a safe pool. That's Rotary Club. That's not an unusual Rotary Club project. That's a Rotary Club project. But I want to talk about Wooster for a few minutes. When I first became district governor, everybody said to me, "Oh, you need to look up their history and you need to look up their giving history." And that was all good advice, but I thought, why am I coming here and telling you stuff you already know about your club? When really my job is to serve you, and so you should be telling me about your club. So I'm going to ask you some questions. Justin, kind of keep time for me and let me know when I get close to 1 o'clock. Okay. The first question I have is, what would happen if the Rotary Club of Wooster closed down tomorrow? What do you think that your community would miss? Anybody? What? Flags. That's always a big one, because the community looks forward to those flags. So that's a big one. What else would your community miss? Sure. People who right now are on the verge of not having food would probably not have that food. So that's something. What else would your community miss? Yes. Sure, fellowship. Yes. Right, youth exchange and connections at the high school, and bringing a little bit of culture into Worcester High School from somewhere else. That's something that the kids don't get all the time, and that's an important lesson for them to learn. What else would your community miss if you guys just weren't here anymore? And by guys, I mean guys and ladies.
Philanthropic piece to the different organizations that are held in the community.
Sure. How many organizations come to you when they have a project and say, "Hey, can you give us like some money for this, or can you give us some money for that?" And Rotary Club almost always writes the check. They almost always write something. Yes. Scholarships. Very good. Yes, absolutely. And believe me, I can tell you, because I'm an adjunct professor at Kent State University, a lot of kids who go to college, if they don't have that $500 or that $1,000 or whatever it is you give, they don't get to go, because they don't have money for their books, or they just don't have that last little bit for their tuition. So never think a scholarship is too small, because it might mean just the difference between going and not going to an individual kid. So that's really important. And keep track of the Zoomers if you would. Anything else before we move on? Okay. As I told you probably about one of East Liverpool's proudest projects, the pool, but I know that over time, there have been many projects in the Worcester area that you have done that have lasted. So as you think back, not just the last few years, but think back through the Rotary, what are some of your best projects, some of the things that you did in this area that you are the most proud of? What? The Rotary Pavilion, where is that? Oak Hill Park, okay. Very good project. It's a good place. What else? Again, very good project. You'd be amazed. It might not happen in this area as much as it does in mine, but that might be the only book that a lot of our kids own, to be honest with you. When you get to some of the more poverty-stricken kids, they may not have access to books like you think they do. What else, Phil?
Linda, for many years, I don't know, over 20 years, we sponsored a basketball tournament in conjunction with the College of Worcester, 4 teams, 2 nights.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting piece of that was we would put out boxes in many elementary schools throughout the area, and then go back a couple weeks later and collect the food items. And it got to the point where we were collecting over 35,000 food items per year that went to people, our food pantry. And people, instead of coming to the game and paying $2 to get in or whatever, they would bring a food item. It was a very cool project.
That is nice. Yeah, that really is. All the way in the back there. 50,000. Oh my goodness. And again, that makes a huge difference. That plus the fact, and I know you just think of a basketball tournament as a basketball tournament, but there is something to be said for having a community event. Anything that brings the community together is a really important thing. So every time you have, even if it's a fundraising thing, but every time, like the flag project, yes, you raise some funds on the flag project, but you also bring the community together. Everybody who flies a flag becomes part of that community. So that's important. So there's something to be said for that. Any other big projects? Okay, next question. Somebody back here? Have what? Crippled children, what do you do? Okay, Wayne County Crippled Children. And there again, those kids depend on us to fill in the gap. There are lots of gaps in their experience, and they depend on us to fill in that gap. Next question is, what opportunities for leadership have you had in Rotary? You've had district governors and you've had excellent presidents and that kind of thing, but sometimes you're just given a project and you realize that this is really something special. I really did something good here. So when you're thinking about opportunities for leadership, think about those projects as well. So what are some of the opportunities to lead a project or to lead the group that you've had that you've really enjoyed in Rotary? Well, I'll start you off, and I think Phil will go along with me. I think one of the best ones I've had is district governor. I never realized the scope of what clubs do until I became a district governor. And so this has been a very, very good leadership experience for me. So, those are the kinds of things, something you learn in leadership. Yeah.
Also, when you're on the board or interaction with different industries. So some people are kind of in their little niche, but this allows you to see all sorts of different perspectives, from nonprofits to public to to manufacturing. So just interaction with different industry segments.
Sure, and that's really a big part of Rotary, is having people from all different walks of life come together for one purpose. That's another thing. What about youth exchange? I know you folks do a lot with youth exchange. How has that really kind of broadened out? I don't know who's in charge of that, but I think that's kind of a broadening experience. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Yeah, it's a quiet group. You know, some clubs I can't stop, and we don't get through all the questions, and other clubs I keep on going. So other clubs are a little bit quieter, so that's all right. That's fine. I'm used to both. Yes, go ahead. Sure. Sure, and I think Worcester has been a leader in this district in youth exchange. You've had 1 or 2 youth exchange students just about every year. I will tell you this. That we didn't have any youth exchange students this year because, for obvious reasons, we couldn't get a visa if we tried. But we are going ahead with plans for next year. We don't know if those plans will come to fruition or not. We can't tell anybody for sure, but we'll do our very best. Next question. I want you to dream big here. I want you to think for a minute and dream big. What would be your dream for the Wooster Rotary Club? If you could say we're going to do this project and it'll be a success, or if you could say our membership will be this much, or you could say what would be your big dream for the Wooster Rotary Club in the next 4 or 5 years? Oh. Yeah. Okay, good. Overall engagement of younger generation. You might think about starting a Rotaract at Worcester College. I don't know if you do that or not, but you might think about a Rotaract at Worcester College. You might think about an Interact at your local high school. That's going to engage younger people, and the hope is that those younger people will then grow up into Rotarians. At least we hope for that. But that would be a great goal for this club, particularly because of where you are. What else? Phil?
I would like to see us, as we have done in the past, take on some large community projects in conjunction with the other service clubs in Worcester.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. Anything specific you'd like to do?
Well, they can buy a house for me in Hawaii.
That'll work, yeah. I get visiting privileges. Anything else? Any other big dreams that your club might have? Okay, well, I'm going to tell you about my big dream for Rotary right now. And probably because I've spent the better part of my life working with kids, polio plus is a big dream for me. Here's the thing. It all started in the 70s when a Rotarian in the Philippines realized that there was an outbreak of polio in the Philippines. And a fellow Rotarian said, it doesn't have to be this way. There's a vaccine. So they started immunizing children in the Philippines. And it wasn't very long before they had gotten rid of polio in the Philippines. And then it occurred to the Rotarians that, well, wait a minute, if we can do it in the Philippines, we can do it everywhere. And so they went ahead and they decided they were going to annihilate polio by 2000. Well, that didn't work out, but let me tell you that it's worked out better than it should. We now, as of August 25th, the continent of Africa is completely polio-free, which means they have not had a case of the wild polio virus in 4 years. That's every continent on the earth, with the exception of Asia. And keep in mind that in Asia, the only 2 places where polio exists are Afghanistan and Pakistan, mostly because they lack a government. And it's very hard to get in, and it's very hard to do anything there. But I want you to know that I really appreciate the efforts of Rotarians and Bill and Melinda Gates. And it's a whole group of people, really. We couldn't afford it just through Rotary. But I really appreciate those efforts, because once we get rid of this virus, think of the children, well, think of the children right now. I mean, I grew up never having to think about polio, but my husband, Fred, who's just a little older than I am, knew people who died from polio. It doesn't take that long to get rid of it, but we just have to keep at it. So that's one of my goals. Anything else that you can think of? Anything globally you'd like to see Rotary do? If you had a global project that you'd like to see, something that you'd like to see Rotary get rid of, what would it be? I mean, aside from coronavirus.
Maybe leading in the distribution of a vaccine when it comes about. We have the network with polio.
Good idea. Good idea. Very good idea. One of the things that did come about, and do we have enough time? Are we good? Okay. One of the things that did come about was through the polio virus. When we got into Africa, we realized that we didn't know where the kids were. And so they developed systems of testing sewage so that we would know where those viruses existed. And we were able to isolate not only the polio virus, but Ebola. And I think now the coronavirus can be isolated through sewage. So if it's in some remote area or even in a regular area, they can test it and see if coronavirus is in that particular area. So yes, we do have that network, and that would be excellent. That would be excellent to use the Rotary Club to get that vaccine out to people. Anything else globally you'd like to see us do?
I'd say continue with the freshwater projects and the wells and making sure that every community in the world has water.
I agree. I think that's very important too. And it's a health matter. I was stunned. I don't know if you saw this or not, but I saw a report. Do you realize that there are communities in the United States as close as West Virginia that do not have water? These people in West Virginia have to go down to a mine somewhere and get their water in jugs and take it back. And I thought to myself, isn't that a crime in the United States of America? And then there are people in, I believe it's California, that the city government just didn't run the water lines out far enough to them. And so there's a group called Dig Deep. That's the name of the group. It's a website. And not just worldwide, because worldwide is a problem, but we need to look at the United States and say, hey, what are we doing that we have people who don't have clean water in this country? That's a shame. So yes, I think that's an excellent project. Have any of you, yes, back here.
I was saying, there's another Rotarian from a nearby club that has spearheaded a Central American medical outreach that provides plastic surgery, medicine, and other services to Honduras.
Oh.
I think that's something that we have supported in the past. When you go down there, you see that our district and many other districts, as well as this club and other clubs, have helped underwrite that. And it's a very, very growing, very valuable service they provide.
Yes, absolutely. Medical care is unbelievable for some places. There is a group, and I'd have to get more information for you from Keith Hodgkinson, but there is a group called MESA, M-E-S-A, and what they do is they take medical equipment from hospitals that are getting rid of their medical equipment. I mean, it's perfectly good medical equipment, but it might be a little outdated for that particular hospital. And they get it to hospitals that have no medical equipment and can use it. And so that's another thing another way that hospitals can be supported. But anything else? Any other? Yes. Absolutely. I know that this is the teacher in me, but I am a great proponent of the free lunch program and the free breakfast program in schools for this reason. We know what the kids are getting. We know they're getting a balanced breakfast. We know they're getting a balanced lunch. Sometimes when these kids go home, there's really nobody there. And it's not, and please understand, I'm not blaming their parents. Sometimes it's a single parent home and their mothers have to work and they have to work odd hours. And the kids don't get the kind of nutritious meals that we got when our mother was cooking at home every night. And so the breakfast and lunch program in schools actually provides those meals that those kids typically wouldn't get. This has been several years ago when I was teaching at Kent. I had this student who came in and she would come in the morning and she would have her hair like all teased out and she'd have this green sparkly eyeshadow on. And I thought, she's a little overdressed for a 9:30 class, but okay. And so one day she said we were walking out of class together and she said, Mrs. Henderson, this is my last chance. And I said, what do you mean it's your last chance? Apparently, she went across the river and we have Mountaineer gaming and resort across the river. Apparently she was a pole dancer at one of the local places over near Mountaineer. And she was getting a little too old to pole dance. And she had to find a job where she could make the same kind of money. Because she was making decent money. And so she was going to school to be a nurse. But she said, you wouldn't believe how much money I make. And she had 2 children. And to be honest with you, between going to school full time, working all night, she worked pretty much most of the night over in West Virginia, and then just, getting back and forth to home and getting the kids to school and that kind of stuff. She didn't have time to cook for those kids. She didn't have a lick of time to cook for those kids. And so and that's how some parents have to live. That's just the reality of the situation. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure to be here. And Justin has my contact information. If you need anything, here's the reason I exist. I exist to serve your club. I exist to help you do the things that you do. This is where the work of Rotary is done, right here in these clubs. So if you need anything, if you need to contact me, Justin has that information, and please feel free. You won't bother me if you contact me. And if I happen not to get back to you right away, feel free to email me a couple of times and remind me, because I get a lot of emails every day right now, okay? Thanks very much.
Zoomers can hear me. So thank you so much for traveling. It's, I remember, Phil, you talking about your year as district governor. I don't know how many miles you put on your car that year, right? Yeah, 20,000, right? So Linda, I asked her how long did it take her to come to a meeting today, right? She said 1 hour and 41 minutes. That's exactly what she said. So we appreciate your commitment to not only Rotary, but the district. Linda was the very first friendly face that I saw when we met over in Boardman Warren area. And she's been great, extremely responsive, and in a challenging year when we can't meet a lot in person. Oh, looking at my double chin here. Thanks, man. It's trimmed. Okay, yeah, that's not good. But we appreciate your dedication, and thank you so much. Thank you for being here. What we have here, this is not from New Zealand, okay? This is from Worcester. It's a rendition of the Rotary wheel with the 4-way test on the back, and it's made here locally by the Village Network. So, yeah, Linda, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. So I've got 2 quick announcements. Again, Linda, thank you for traveling here. Number 1, membership directory. Please make sure that information is up to date so we can get that printed early or at the end of the year, have that ready to go. Next week, it is October 12th already. It's hard to believe that. Dee, you have a pretty good speaker lined up. It's Dan Owalabi, who will be talking about ways to leave a positive legacy. And so you'll want to be here for that. The goal, again, is to continue to be back at the church in November. I think Greystone has done a great job in hosting us in the meantime, so we owe them a bit of gratitude. But make sure that on Wednesday, when that email goes out, please continue to RSVP for that meeting on October 12th with Dan, okay? Anything else for the good of the order, folks? If not, we stand adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Zoomers. Appreciate it.